Good morning. This is the time and place for the Planning Hearing Officer's hearing for June 8th, 2016. My name is Kristen Asp, and I will be conducting the hearings as hearing officer. We have two cases today, and all relevant exhibits are posted on the panels located directly behind me. Findings. If the evidence presented in the application at the hearing meets the criteria described in the findings for the case, the planning hearing officer can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. Public notice. Notification for this hearing was accomplished by use of public notices, which were mailed to property owners and occupants of the property within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. The hearing will proceed as follows. The description of the application or request will be read. Reports and comments received from other departments or other letters of communication from interested parties will be read if relevant. The case planner will make a brief overview of the case, give analysis, and make a recommendation. The applicant will then be asked to come forward stating both name and address and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in the audience who wish to speak will be asked to come forward stating both name and address and will have a 3-minute time limit. The applicant will then be given the opportunity to make closing comments if desired in response to testimony given by preceding speakers within a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will be closed and then taken under decision or a decision may be rendered. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or by submitting written responses and have provided their name and mailing address. The date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter, not necessarily the date of this hearing. Appeals. Under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the decision date of the notice of appeal, and the notice of appeal shall be filed with the Building and Safety Division located in this building, MSB 101 of this building. Speaker cards. If you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of the speaker forms, which have been provided at the front door, and submit to our planning staff. I would also like to inform everyone that the official proceedings of the Planning Hearing Officer's hearing are recorded on tape as part of the public record. So moving on to our agenda, we have an application for a conditional use permit and an administrative use permit at 1320 West Glen Oaks Boulevard. It is a conditional use permit to allow the expansion of a banquet hall, an office and a storage room, and an administrative use permit for the sale, service, and consumption of alcoholic beverages at the banquet hall located in the C2 Community Commercial Zone in the city of Glendale. This project is exempt from CEQA under Guidelines Section 15301, Existing Facilities. I'm going to ask the project planner, Mr. Kiesel, to give an overview, and then we will call on the applicant.
Good morning, Ms. Asp. The applicant is requesting approval of a conditional use permit to allow the expansion of an existing banquet hall in the C2 zone and approval of an administrative use permit to allow the on-site sales, service, and consumption of alcoholic beverages at the expanded banquet hall located at 1320 West Glen Oaks Boulevard. Staff believes that the findings can be made to support the approval of both applications. The Anoush Banquet Hall has been operated on the site since 1996. The applicant is currently proposing to expand the banquet hall facility by adding storage and office areas to the northern part of the building, as well as a porte cochere between the existing building and West Glen Oaks Boulevard. The land use designation of the subject site is Community Services Commercial, which is restrictive in terms of land uses, similar to the neighbored commercial areas, but geared for a larger market area or market scale. Banquet halls, by their very nature, are uses which draw customers from a wider geographic area. Serving alcoholic beverages in conjunction with a banquet hall use is common. As such, the banquet hall with alcoholic beverages is consistent with the intent of the land use element. Other elements of the general plan, including the open space, circulation, recreation, and housing elements, will not be impacted as a result of the project. And conditions will be added to the approval of the project to ensure that the use complies with the city's noise ordinance, and as such, and therefore will be consistent with the noise element. The project will not be detrimental to the safety and public welfare of the neighborhood. The banquet hall is located in Census Tract 3016.01, where five on-sale establishments are the recommended limit. There are currently 9 on-sale establishments in this tract, but this request, the AUP request, will not increase the number of licenses in this tract. Conditions will be added to the approval of the project to ensure that the expanded banquet facility will continue to be or to continue to operate in a responsible manner. There were two calls for police services generated in the last year from this location, but both were false alarms.
Okay.
And the Glendale Police Department and Neighborhood Services Division didn't have concerns related to this, to either the conditional use permit or administrative use permit requests. The proposed banquet hall expansion is to accommodate additional storage and office, not to increase the capacity of the facility. The administrative use permit is necessitated due to the expansion of the banquet hall. These requests should not adversely impact nearby uses on the commercial street, nor impede the development of the surrounding neighborhood, because really the neighborhood is already developed. Residential properties to the south should not be further impacted, as the addition is proposed on the north side of the building and will not increase the capacity of the banquet hall. Redevelopment of nearby property should not be impacted, given that the banquet hall use is a conditionally permitted in the C2 zone, and the serving of alcoholic beverages is a common ancillary use. No public facilities are located near the site, and the recommended conditions will ensure the expanded banquet hall with alcohol service will not conflict with nearby uses. There are adequate public and private facilities. The banquet hall will be expanded by approximately 400 square feet, as I previously mentioned. However, no increase in capacity is proposed. No additional parking is required as a result of the banquet hall expansion. The project will not require any new public facilities or the expansion of existing ones. And since the banquet hall capacity is not changing, traffic in the surrounding area will not be really adversely impacted. Staff is suggesting 2 changes to conditions contained in the staff report based on further conversations with our police department. Based on those conversations, staff is recommending that condition number 15 should be amended to read that banquet hall managers not in possession of an ABC license shall ensure no patron under the age of 21 consumes an alcoholic beverage. That the service of alcoholic beverages shall be in full accord with the regulations and conditions of the State Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control. Amending this condition will make it consistent with previous alcohol approvals for other banquet halls in the city. And then condition number 30 should be amended to read that a minimum of 2 security guards and 1 banquet hall manager shall be present for events exceeding 100 patrons in the evenings where alcohol is served, so that they may intervene in disturbances and be a direct contact for police. And the pertinent change in this condition is the caveat that the security guards be required in the evenings where there's alcohol. And this sort of acknowledges that, in addition to the large wedding parties that are common in banquet halls, they also have funeral services, they also have baby showers, they have business meetings, and so, a large business meeting in the afternoon that may not serve alcohol, I'm not really sure it warrants the security guards. So, staff believes that the findings for the conditional use permit application can be made, and as well as the administrative use permit, and recommends that the request be granted. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kiesel. And that was. Thank you for clarifying the calls for service. That was going through the interdepartmental comments noted there, but the reasoning behind that is certainly relevant. So at this time, I don't think I have any more questions for staff. I will ask the applicant, Rodney Kahn, to come up and tell me about the case.
Sure. Good morning, Ms. Asp. My name is Rodney Kahn. My offices are located at 1111 North Brand Boulevard, Suite 403 here in the city of Glendale. To begin, I think Mr. Kiesel touched on many of the high points in terms of the presentation. We agree with his findings. There are some conditions that I'd like to further elaborate on, but I would like to talk a little bit about the project concept and what we're proposing. The location of the site is on West Glen Oaks as you're heading west towards Burbank. It's actually between two streets, Davis and Rosedale Avenues. A little bit of history. Back in 1999, a conditional use permit was issued for the sale, service, and consumption of alcoholic beverages at this location. The city of Glendale and the operator in particular has been in good standing with the city of Glendale. In fact, it's very strange for me to have a public hearing where we don't have a number of people in the room. So this is a welcome type hearing. The second thing is that obviously if there was concerns, if there was issues, and it had not been run properly, I think you would have seen people in this room, you would have seen emails, and you have gotten phone calls. And so that's a testament to Varej and the professionalism that he runs his businesses with. The land use designation of the site, as Mr. Kiesel has already pointed out, is community services, which encourages this type of land use in this location. And this will be a positive benefit to our community. The incidental sale of alcoholic beverages for the on-site consumption, and as stated in your staff report and as highlighted by Mr. Kiesel, both the police department and community development, neighborhood services, the two departments that deal with complaints in the city, those two departments don't have concerns. And that's saying something because typically, as you know, they don't come out and say everything is great, we have no problems. What they do say, though, is they'll say if we don't have problems, we have no concerns. And in this particular case, there is no concerns, which in turn means, once again, they're operating in a very professional manner. The project site, so it is developed, the neighborhood is developed. There is some development that's going on in the area, but further west, if you will, north and west in this area, but this would not impact it in any way. The proposed addition is a very minor addition, and the addition is a storage area of about 190 to 200 square feet. And it's also an office area that's about 200 square feet as well. And then obviously the porte-cochere on the front of the building. And that dresses the building up. It actually enhances the look and the appearance of the building, which is very much a positive for that neighborhood and for that area. It's already been mentioned, the discussions with the Glendale Police Department and how their communication, and to Varej's credit, He's in communication with the police department. They do talk. There are things that happen or that occur, but they're all managed, they're discussed, and there are not a lot of things that occurred. There's 2 calls for service, and as we found out, they were false alarms. The findings we agree can be made, so I will not repeat exactly what's being said. I do want to highlight something, though, in the conditional use permit. There were 2 conditions that we had talked about, and I want to give a handout, and it's very close and very similar to what Mr. Kiesel just said. And so the first condition, and we've reviewed the conditions, and we agree to comply with them. We agree with changing condition number 15 exactly as Mr. Kiesel had stated it and exactly as the police department had amended it. So yes, we are in full agreement with that modification to it. The second item, which is condition number 30, I want to talk a little bit about, and I thought Roger did a very good job explaining why we would not need for functions in the afternoon or for functions even the evening that don't involve alcohol, why we don't need security. So we totally agree with that. The only thing that I changed here is related to the number of security guards. And so what I did was, and this is just an attempt to kind of give you some language. So first and foremost, there's always a banquet manager at all functions. So no matter what, whether there's alcohol involved or not involved, there's always a banquet manager. Mm-hmm. So that person acts as not just a security guard or not just as an operator, but he is there, he's coordinating things, he's on top of things. No matter what, that person is responsible for that event. And that's at all events, no matter what the size is. The second thing was the number of security guards. And Vrej owns other banquet facilities in the city of Glendale as well. And he has a responsibility to his clients, just like the city has a responsibility to the community. He knows how many security guards he needs. He has learned this over the years. He also knows that he doesn't need a certain number of security guards. And quite frankly, in terms of what we are looking at, we would be looking at, for evening events that include the service of alcoholic beverages, we would have 1 security guard shall be present for events exceeding 100 patrons. And then 2 security guards shall be present for events exceeding 300 patients, so that they may intervene in disturbances and a direct contact for a police response. This is the language we would suggest. And the reason I say that, though, also is that's what's taking place right now. And as you can see, we haven't had any comments or concerns or complaints from the community. So obviously, this is working.
Okay.
I appreciate, Mr. Kiesel, your presentation. I will not repeat what is already previously said. If there are any questions, I'll conclude my presentation and answer them now.
Sure. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm going to get back to condition number 30 and talking about the security guards, but I guess, and maybe if you can answer, if not, maybe the owner, just maybe describe a little bit of, you've been operating since 1996 in this location. What is sort of a typical week and of events, and then this addition, this storage room and this office? Is that just to make things flow a little bit better? Is that to have just some more personnel? Just kind of explain, why the addition, and then just general characteristics of how it operates today.
I'll give you the addition.
Okay.
And then I'll step aside for the characteristics for Vrej. Excuse me. I think there's really a few things. One, if you've been out to the facility and the way that the office works and circulates, this additional space or this office is very much needed.
Okay.
So that's one thing. Secondly, the storage, you can never have enough storage. So the storage, and then lastly, as it relates to the aesthetics, if you notice where the addition is taking place, so the addition is taking place on the north side, and it's about the same shape in terms of it being about 200 square feet on each side, and then you have the new aesthetics with the porte cochere. So it kind of blends in for functional reasons and also for aesthetic reasons as well.
Okay. And what's out there right now where the addition's going to go? Is that landscape? There's no change in the striping of the parking lot at all?
No, the parking is remaining exactly as is. The
Okay.
number of spaces, everything functionally is staying the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there, and I can't tell from some of the pictures, is there landscaping right at those corners?
I think there's a little bit of landscaping, but there's also paving in that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the addition of the porte cochere doesn't change any of the parking spaces, doesn't change the circulation of the site
Doesn't change
in any
the
way?
circulation of the site in any way, doesn't intrude into any of the parking stall widths, lengths. It
Okay.
doesn't do any of those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll step aside now.
Good morning.
Good morning. State your name,
Raj Sarkisian.
and if you could answer, I guess my question of just tell me how you operate and how you see, adding this office, isn't going to change any of the operations, or it doesn't allow you to have another person on site to help your guests, or just tell me a little bit about
Certainly.
what you do.
So we're a event space, typically for social events, some corporate business, primarily serving the community. Think weddings, happy occasions. Unfortunately, sometimes sad occasions as well. And as with any business that evolves, the needs change, and the changes that we're proposing meets those needs. Our administrative needs have changed, increased, as with storage. I think we said that right. You can never get enough of that.
Okay, so a typical week you have events.
Got certainly weddings. During the weekdays. Typically, we've got corporate business type meetings,
Luncheons, things- okay.
presentations, auctions, political parties like yesterday.
Okay. Okay. And then on the weekends is.
On the weekends, it's typically weddings.
Okay. And events during the day and in the evening. Sometimes they're double booked or
Sure.
multiple events.
Being in close proximity to Hollywood Hills, we get some of the memorial services during the days. Certainly, bridal showers, baby showers.
Okay. Okay. So then, if we're going to move on to condition number 30, and I think both you and Rodney can probably answer this. So in your events today, it sounds like you operate with one security guard for up to 300 people, and then when you have an event that's over 300 people, you call in an extra security guard. Is that correct?
Typically, yes.
Okay.
Certainly, those needs also change depending on the texture of events.
Okay.
For example, if you've got a wedding with no alcohol versus a 21st birthday celebration, those certainly have different security concerns.
Okay.
And I'd like to say we do a good job of understanding what the needs are and anticipating. At the end of the day, it's both in the host's best interest and in ours for the guests to have a good experience. So we don't try to be penny wise somewhere and ultimately be a dollar foolish elsewhere. So we allocate resources as needed. The condition we proposed essentially satisfies a big portion of the events, and I think the rest, just like any other operator in the city and just like the CUP process allows, says, hey, let's do a good job and see where we need to be in a few years from now. And I think our history says we've been
Okay, and I know, and at this location, obviously, I think the comments we received and the fact that there's no one here testifying that things are awful attests to that. In your other locations that you operate, this seems to work as well.
certainly, or variations thereof. The other locations may have different characteristics. They might be smaller in size or larger in size,
Okay.
and so the needs may change there as well.
Okay, and For instance, if you anticipate something, is there ever a time where you would say, yeah, I'm going to call in a third security guard
That happens.
just for just based on your gut and you know what's going on, that's just a precaution?
Absolutely. One of the benefits we have is a security firm that handles these locations, also handles various other locations in the city as well. And so there's an available pool readily throughout the city. So it tends to work out well.
Okay. And they make recommendations to you? I mean, as
they certainly let the banquet manager know. The protocol is if they sense something, they let the banquet manager know, who's well-versed in
events.
And it's a judgment call, and oftentimes we support those decisions. We don't micromanage that portion of it. If they feel comfortable that they need an extra resource, they're able to get it with really without even calling us or letting us know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's really it for my questions. If there's anything anybody else wants to add, now would be the time. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. So with that, I will take this case under submission, and we are adjourned. Thank you. Will you